Commander Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the Valiant, watching the starfield through the main viewport. Her hands rested on the rail in front of her as she studied the tactical display. The mining colony on Europa Station had sent out a distress call 3 hours ago, and now her ship was approaching the Jupiter system at maximum speed. Her tactical officer, Ryan Webb, turned from his console. "Commander, we're picking up multiple contacts. Looks like Kethran vessels. At least 6 of them in formation around the station." Lisa nodded slowly. The Kethrans had arrived 2 months ago, with formal declarations and ceremony. They wanted the outer colonies, territories they claimed belonged to their empire by ancient right. Humanity had offered to negotiate, but the aliens insisted on something called an honor challenge. If humans wanted to keep their colonies, they would have to fight for them according to Kethran rules. "Slow to half speed," Lisa ordered. "Let's not rush into anything." She had spent the last week reading everything available about Kethran culture. They were warriors, but not the brutal kind. They believed in honor codes, ritual combat, and dignity in battle. Their wars followed strict rules. Armies met in open space or on designated battlefields. Civilians were protected. Surrendering soldiers were taken as honored prisoners and treated well. The entire galaxy praised them for conducting civilized warfare. Lisa had grown up hearing different stories. Her grandfather had fought in the South American conflicts, brutal guerrilla wars where survival mattered more than honor. He told her that real war was dirty and desperate, that people who talked about honor usually did so because they had never really needed to fight for their lives. A communication request came through. Lisa gestured for Ryan to put it on screen. The image showed a tall alien with blue-gray skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on its face. It wore ornate armor decorated with symbols Lisa didn't recognize. "I am Ambassador Vorthok of the Kethran Empire," the alien said. Its voice came through the translator with a formal, measured tone. "You command this vessel?" "Commander Lisa Morgan, United Earth Defense Force," she replied. "We have claimed Europa Station under the laws of territorial challenge. Your colony has 48 hours to evacuate. After that time, the station becomes property of the Empire." Lisa kept her expression neutral. "We received approval from Earth Command to negotiate terms with you." Vorthok's head tilted slightly. "There are no terms to negotiate, Commander. We have issued a formal challenge. If humanity wishes to contest our claim, you must meet us in honorable combat. We will fight in designated zones only. Civilian areas will remain untouched. Your warriors will be given the respect they deserve." "And if we win?" Lisa asked. "Then we withdraw our claim and acknowledge human sovereignty over this region. The Kethran Empire keeps its word, Commander. We fight with honor, and we accept defeat with honor. This is the way of civilized species." Lisa glanced at Ryan, who raised an eyebrow. She turned back to the screen. "I need to consult with my superiors. Give us 12 hours. Vorthok inclined his head. 12 hours. We await your response." The screen went dark. Ryan stood and walked over to Lisa. "What do you think?" "I think they're very confident," Lisa said. She moved to the tactical display and brought up the Kethran fleet positions. They were arranged in a perfect formation, each ship exactly spaced from the others. "Look at this. They broadcast their positions openly. They want us to see them. It's part of their honor code," Ryan said. "No ambushes, no surprise attacks. Everything is supposed to be fair." Lisa studied the display for a long moment. "Run a simulation. What happens if we fight them according to their rules?" After, Ryan worked at his console for several minutes, inputting data about Kethran's ship capabilities and tactical doctrine. The results made Lisa's jaw tighten. "We lose," Ryan said quietly. "They have superior numbers, and their technology is slightly better than ours. In a straight fight following their rules, they win through attrition." "How long before we lose the outer colonies?" 6 months, maybe 8 if we're lucky." Lisa walked back to her command chair and sat down. She pulled up a secure channel to Earth Command and typed out a message requesting permission to engage under Kethran terms. The response came back within 2 hours. Admiral Jake Foster would be arriving with the main fleet. And yes, humanity would accept the Kethran challenge. The message ended with a note. Earth Command believed that following the rules would earn humanity respect in the galactic community and might lead to peaceful resolution. 3 days later, the human fleet gathered near Jupiter's moons. Jake Foster commanded from his flagship, the Defiant. Lisa's Valiant was positioned on the left flank, with 2 smaller cruisers. The Kethran fleet approached in perfect formation, 12 ships moving in synchronized patterns that were almost beautiful. Jake's voice came through on the command channel. All ships, maintain formation. We engage according to their protocols. Make humanity proud. Lisa wanted to object, to argue that this was suicide, but the decision had been made above her level. She watched as the Kethran ships broadcast their intentions, formally declaring the start of combat. The human fleet responded in kind. The battle lasted 3 hours. Both sides fought with courage and skill. The Kethrans moved in coordinated patterns, their ships supporting each other perfectly. The human fleet fought hard, destroying 3 Kethran vessels while losing 2 of their own. When the Kethrans withdrew, they broadcast messages of respect, praising human bravery and fighting spirit. Jake Foster declared it a victory. They had held the line and earned Kethran respect. Lisa stood on her bridge and watched the damaged Kethran ships retreat. She felt no sense of victory. They had lost good people and gained nothing but respect from an enemy that would be back in a few days with reinforcements. Over the next 3 weeks, humanity fought 6 more engagements against the Kethrans. Each battle followed the same pattern. The Kethrans approached openly, both sides fought honorably, and humanity took casualties it couldn't replace. Jake Foster died in the 4th battle when his ship was destroyed. 12 major vessels were lost. 5 colonies were evacuated. Lisa was promoted to admiral and given command of the defense fleet. She sat in her ready room aboard the Valiant, staring at casualty reports. Earth Command called her for a conference. The faces on the screen looked tired and desperate. Admiral Morgan, the situation is deteriorating, the chairman said. We need results. Lisa leaned forward. Then let me fight the way I know how. Explain. The Kethrans fight by rules that favor them. Every engagement following their protocols costs us ships and people we can't afford to lose. They're stronger, and playing their game means we lose slowly. The chairman frowned. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we stop playing their game, Lisa said. I'm suggesting we show them what human warfare really looks like. There was silence on the other end. Finally, the chairman spoke. You have authorization to use whatever tactics you deem necessary. Keep humanity safe, Admiral. Lisa ended the call and sat back in her chair. She pulled up historical files on her console. Military conflicts from Earth's past, where weaker forces had defeated stronger enemies. Guerrilla warfare. Asymmetric tactics. Psychological operations. Wars where survival mattered more than honor. She called a meeting with her senior officers. Ryan Webb arrived first, followed by Commander Amy Torres, her second in command, and several others. They gathered around the table in the conference room. Lisa looked at each of them. The honorable war ends now. We're going to fight the way the Kethran supply convoy moved through the asteroid belt in a loose formation. 3 cargo ships carried weapons, fuel, and replacement parts for the fleet. 2 escort vessels flanked them. But the crews were relaxed. No one expected trouble here. The war was being fought according to rules, and those rules meant battles happened in designated zones with proper notice. Lisa watched the convoy from the Valiant's bridge. Her ship was powered down, drifting among the asteroids like just another piece of rock. 2 smaller human vessels, the Swift and the Mercury, were hidden nearby. They had been waiting for 6 hours. Target locks acquired. Ryan said quietly. All 3 cargo ships are in range. Lisa studied the tactical display. The Kethran escorts were positioned to defend against a frontal assault, the kind that would come with proper warning and formal challenge. They weren't expecting ships to be hiding in the asteroids. Fire, Lisa ordered. The Valiant's weapons came online and immediately launched missiles at the nearest cargo ship. The Swift and Mercury opened fire at the same moment, targeting the other two cargo vessels. The missiles streaked across the gap in seconds. All three cargo ships exploded before they could even raise shields. The Kethran escorts turned in confusion, trying to locate the attackers. By the time they locked onto the human ships, Lisa had already ordered full power to engines. The Valiant and its companions accelerated away, disappearing into the asteroid field before the escorts could pursue effectively. The entire engagement lasted 90 seconds. Lisa stood on the bridge as the Valiant put distance between them and the attack site. Status: all three cargo vessels destroyed, Ryan reported. No damage to our ships. The escorts are trying to follow, but we're already out of range. Amy Torres walked onto the bridge. Her expression was troubled. Admiral, we just destroyed supply ships without warning. The Kethrans are going to respond. Let them, Lisa said. The response came 3 hours later. Ambassador Vorthok's face appeared on the main screen, and for the first time since Lisa had met him, the alien looked angry. Admiral Morgan, your attack on our supply convoy was a violation of every principle of honorable warfare. You attacked without challenge, without warning, and you destroyed unarmed cargo vessels. This is not acceptable. Lisa faced the screen with a calm expression. Ambassador, I never agreed to your rules. Earth Command ordered me to follow them, and I did. Those orders have changed. Vorthok's 4 eyes narrowed. You cannot simply abandon the codes of civilized warfare when they become inconvenient. I'm not abandoning anything, Lisa replied. I never agreed to your codes in the first place. You came to our territory, demanded we fight by your rules, and we tried it your way. It cost us 12 ships and 5 colonies. That ends now. If you continue down this path, we will be forced to escalate our response. Lisa stepped closer to the screen. Ambassador, let me be very clear. You wanted a war. Now you have one. Not the kind you're used to, but the kind humans fight when we're desperate. If you don't like it, you can leave our territory, and this ends. Vorthok was silent for a long moment. The Empire does not retreat. We will respond to your dishonor with the full might of our fleet. Then you'll learn what human warfare really means. Lisa gestured, and Ryan cut the transmission. Amy walked over to her. Admiral, are you sure about this? Once we start, there's no going back. Lisa turned to face her second-in-command. Amy, I spent 3 weeks watching our people die in honorable combat. We lost 12 ships. The Kethrans lost 6. At that rate, we lose everything in 6 months. So yes, I'm sure. We either fight to win, or we don't fight at all. Over the next 2 weeks, Lisa launched a series of hit-and-run attacks across Kethran positions. Human ships would appear without warning, strike hard, and vanish before Kethran forces could organize a response. Supply lines were disrupted, communication relays were destroyed, small outposts found themselves under attack from enemies who refused to fight fair. The Kethrans tried to adapt. They increased patrols and tightened formations. But their entire military doctrine was built on the assumption that enemies would announce themselves and fight in the open. They didn't know how to deal with an enemy that refused to follow any rules. Lisa coordinated the operations from the Valiant, moving between asteroid fields and debris clouds, where her ship couldn't be easily tracked. She studied reports from each attack, looking for patterns and weaknesses to exploit. The Kethrans were strong in direct combat, but they were predictable. Once you knew their patterns, it was easy to avoid their strengths and target their vulnerabilities. A message came through from one of her patrol ships. Commander Sam Peterson reported finding a Kethran communication station orbiting a small moon in the Saturn system. It was lightly defended, just 3 ships and a small garrison. Lisa ordered him to destroy it. The attack happened at night, local time for the station. The human ships approached from the moon's shadow, using the natural satellite to mask their presence. They launched missiles and opened fire before the Kethrans even knew they were there. The station was destroyed in minutes. No survivors. The Kethran military command was in chaos. They issued orders for their fleets to spread out and search for human forces. But Lisa had already anticipated this. When Kethran ships dispersed to hunt for attackers, they became vulnerable. Lisa would send small groups of human vessels to hit the isolated ships, then retreat before reinforcements could arrive. The Galactic Council sent a message to Earth Command, expressing concern about human tactics. They urged humanity to return to civilized rules of engagement. Lisa read the message and ignored it. She wasn't fighting for galactic approval. She was fighting to keep humanity alive. 3 weeks into the new campaign, Lisa received intelligence that the Kethran fleet was gathering for a major offensive. They were massing ships near Titan, preparing for what looked like a decisive battle. The Kethrans expected humans to meet them there according to traditional tactics. Lisa called a conference with her senior officers. She brought up the tactical map, showing the Kethran fleet concentration. "They want a big battle," Ryan said. "Traditional engagement, the kind they're good at." Lisa nodded. "So we don't give them one. Pass the order to all human ships." When the Kethrans move to engage, the entire fleet scatters. Every ship goes in a different direction. Amy looked confused. "We're running away?" "We're refusing to fight on their terms," Lisa corrected. "They're gathering for a battle that won't happen. While they're concentrated in one place, we hit everywhere else. Every supply depot, every communication relay, every outpost they have. By the time they realize what's happening, we'll have crippled their support structure." Captain Claire Hoffman spoke up. "Admiral, that's going to require precise coordination. If even one ship gets caught, the Kethrans will know what we're doing." "Then we don't get caught," Lisa said. "We move fast, hit hard, and stay ahead of them. This is what we're good at. Let's use it." The Kethran offensive began exactly as Lisa's intelligence predicted. A massive fleet of 30 ships moved from Titan toward the inner colonies, broadcasting challenges and expecting humans to meet them in battle. The human fleet appeared on long-range scanners, and the Kethrans moved to engage. Then every human ship broke formation and scattered in different directions. The Kethran commanders were confused. This wasn't how warfare worked. Enemies were supposed to meet in battle, not run away. They tried to pursue, but the human ships split up so completely that the Kethrans couldn't chase all of them. By the time they decided to focus on one group, those ships had already jumped away. While the main Kethran fleet searched empty space for an enemy that refused to fight, Lisa's strike teams hit targets across the system. Supply depots exploded. Communication stations went dark. Small garrisons found themselves under attack with no way to call for help. The Kethran military command tried to respond, but their ships were scattered and their communication network was degraded. Orders were delayed or never arrived. Commanders in the field had to make decisions without knowing what was happening elsewhere. Lisa watched the reports come in from her ready room. Every target they had planned to hit was destroyed. The Kethran fleet, powerful and deadly in open battle, was running in circles trying to find an enemy that stayed just out of reach. Ambassador Vorthak sent another transmission. This time he appeared on screen without his formal armor. He looked tired. "Admiral Morgan, please. This is not warfare. This is chaos." Lisa leaned back in her chair. "No, Ambassador. This is what warfare looks like when people fight to survive instead of fighting for honor. You came to our territory with your rules and your codes, and you assumed we would." Alwa Lisa stood in the communications center of the Valiant, watching her intelligence officer Laura Chen work at her console. On the screens around them were recordings of Kethran military communications they had intercepted over the past week. The messages were frantic, confused, and increasingly afraid. "Play the one from the Kethran cruiser again," Lisa said. Laura brought up the recording. A Kethran commander's voice came through the translator, speaking rapidly. "Central Command. We are under attack. Enemy vessels appeared without warning and destroyed our escort ships. We cannot see them. They vanish into the asteroid field, and we cannot track them. Request immediate support." The message ended with silence. No response had come from Kethran Command because Lisa's forces had destroyed the communication relay 2 days earlier. "How many messages like this have we intercepted?" Lisa asked. 43 in the last week," Laura replied. "And that's just what we can pick up. The pattern is consistent across all Kethran forces. Confusion, fear, isolation from command structure. They don't know what's happening or how to respond. Lisa nodded slowly. Good. Double our broadcast of the defeat recordings. I want every Kethran ship and station to hear them. Amy Torres entered the communications center. Admiral, are you sure about this? Broadcasting their defeats on repeat seems excessive. Lisa turned to face her. It's not excessive, it's necessary. The Kethrans built their entire culture on honor and dignity in warfare. Every time they hear their comrades dying, confused and afraid, it breaks down that culture a little more. We're not just fighting their ships, Amy. We're fighting their will to continue. It feels like psychological torture, Amy said quietly. It is, Lisa agreed. War isn't pretty, and what we're doing isn't going to make us popular. But it's working. Look at the intelligence reports. Kethran fleet morale is collapsing. Commanders are hesitating to engage. Some ships have refused orders. Laura pulled up a new set of data on her screen. Admiral, we've also been creating propaganda materials like you requested. Videos showing Kethran warriors dying without honor, abandoned by their codes. Should we begin broadcasting those? Lisa studied the images on the screen. They were brutal and designed to demoralize. Part of her wanted to say no, that this crossed a line, but she thought about the 12 ships humanity had lost, the 5 colonies evacuated, the thousands of people dead. She thought about what would happen if the Kethrans won. Yes, she said. Broadcast them on all Kethran military frequencies. Make sure every warrior sees what happens when honor meets necessity. Over the next week, the psychological campaign intensified. Human ships broadcast recordings of Kethran defeats continuously. The propaganda videos played on loop across every channel the Kethrans used. Messages in Kethran language explained in simple terms that their honor codes meant nothing against an enemy that fought to survive. The effect was devastating. Kethran military formations grew sloppy as discipline broke down. Ships that once moved in perfect coordination now showed hesitation and uncertainty. Some vessels hung back during engagements, unwilling to commit fully to battle. Lisa exploited every weakness. When she received reports that a Kethran fleet was gathering near Neptune, she sent false distress signals claiming human ships were stranded and defenseless nearby. The Kethrans, still clinging to their codes about protecting the helpless, moved to investigate. They found mines instead. 6 ships were destroyed before they could retreat. Commander Sam Peterson led a raid on a Kethran fuel depot. His team approached slowly, using debris to mask their signature. The depot's defenses were strong, but they were positioned to defend against frontal assault. Sam's ships came from above, dropping down through the planet's atmosphere where the Kethrans didn't expect an attack. The depot was destroyed with minimal resistance. Captain Claire Hoffman conducted a different kind of operation. Her team intercepted a Kethran supply convoy, but instead of destroying it immediately, they disabled the ships and left them drifting. When rescue vessels arrived, they found their comrades alive but traumatized. The rescued crews told stories of humans appearing from nowhere, striking without mercy, then vanishing. These stories spread through the Kethran fleet faster than any propaganda broadcast. The Kethran High Command tried to maintain order. They issued statements about honor and duty. They called the human tactics cowardly and promised victory to those who stayed strong. But the messages rang hollow when communication relays were destroyed faster than they could be rebuilt, and when fleets gathered for battle only to find empty space. Lisa received a report from Ryan about unusual Kethran fleet movements. Several ships had gathered in one location but weren't moving to engage. They were just sitting there, maintaining position but not responding to orders from their command. What are they doing? Lisa asked. Ryan studied the data. I think they're refusing to fight, Admiral. The communication chatter suggests those commanders are debating whether to continue the war. Lisa felt a grim satisfaction. Keep monitoring them. If they break away from the main fleet, don't engage. Let them go. I want other Kethran ships to see that desertion is an option. The war entered its 4th month since Lisa had changed tactics. The Kethrans had lost dozens of supply ships, multiple communication networks, and several major installations. But more importantly, they had lost something harder to measure. Their confidence was gone. Their belief in their own military superiority had evaporated. They no longer moved through space with the certainty of warriors who believed honor would protect them. Lisa called a meeting with her senior staff to plan the next phase. They gathered in the conference room, and she brought up intelligence reports showing the current state of Kethran forces. "They're falling apart," Ryan said. "Fleet cohesion is down 60%. Response times are terrible. Half their commanders are operating without clear orders because we've destroyed so much of their communication infrastructure." "What about their military leadership?" Lisa asked. Laura pulled up a file. "The Kethran High Command meets regularly on their flagship, the Eternal Honor. It's the largest ship in their fleet and houses most of their senior military leaders. Security is heavy, but they follow predictable patterns." Lisa studied the information carefully. The Eternal Honor was a massive vessel, more of a mobile command station than a warship. It stayed back from active combat zones, coordinating fleet movements and issuing strategic orders. "Can we reach it?" Lisa asked. The room fell silent. Amy spoke first. "Admiral, attacking their command ship would be a major escalation. It's essentially their Pentagon. If we destroy it, with their leadership aboard, they might respond with weapons that could devastate our colonies." "They might," Lisa agreed. "Or they might collapse entirely. Their military is barely holding together now. Remove the command structure. And what's left?" Ryan pulled up tactical data. "We have captured Kethran access codes from previous engagements. With the right approach, we could infiltrate the ship, plant explosives in key locations, get out before they know we're there, and then broadcast footage of the operation." Laura added, "Show the Kethrans that we can reach their leadership anytime we want. That nowhere is safe." Lisa looked at each of her officers. "I need to be clear about what this means. If we do this, some people will call it assassination. Others will say we're war criminals. The Galactic Council will condemn us. And if it goes wrong, the Kethrans might retaliate against civilian targets." "What's the alternative?" Amy asked quietly. "We keep fighting the way we are, slowly breaking them down over months or years. How many more people die on both sides before they surrender?" Lisa stood and walked to the viewport. She looked out at the stars, thinking about her grandfather's stories of desperate wars where people did terrible things to survive. She thought about the thousands of humans who had already died in this conflict. She thought about what the galaxy would say about her and about humanity. Finally, she turned back to her officers. "We do it. Laura, coordinate with Commander Katie Barnes. She'll lead the infiltration team. Ryan, work on the tactical approach. I want them in and out before the Kethrans know what hit them. And Amy, prepare a message to Earth Command. They need to know what we're planning." Katie Barnes was a veteran of special operations with 15 years of experience. She had led boarding actions during the early fights with the Kethrans and knew how their ships were laid out. Lisa met with her privately to discuss the mission. "How many people do you need?" Lisa asked. 8, Katie replied. "Small enough to move quietly, large enough to handle security if things go wrong. We'll use the captured access codes to get aboard during a routine supply transfer. Plant charges throughout the command structure and critical systems. Once we're clear, we detonate remotely. Time frame? 6 hours from insertion to extraction if everything goes smoothly. Longer if we hit complications." Lisa nodded. "You'll have complete authority during the operation. If you need to abort, abort. If you need support, call for it. I'm not sacrificing your team for this." Katie's voice came through the communication channel, with controlled urgency. "Security sweep in progress. They're checking identification on all personnel. We need to move now." Lisa gripped the rail on the Valiant's bridge. "Can you complete the mission? Most charges are planted. We're missing 3 locations, but the main command structure is covered. Requesting permission to detonate early and extract." "Granted," Lisa said immediately. She listened as Katie coordinated her team's withdrawal. They moved through service corridors, avoiding the main passages where security forces were conducting their sweep. 2 team members were nearly caught but managed to slip past by hiding in a maintenance area. After what felt like hours but was only 20 minutes, Katie reported that all 8 team members had reached the extraction point. "Charges armed and ready," Katie said, preparing to detonate. "Do it," Lisa ordered. The explosion happened in stages. The first charges went off in the power distribution centers, knocking out the Eternal Honor's main systems. Secondary explosions followed in the command structure where the Kethran High Command had been meeting. The massive ship shuddered and began listing to one side as internal fires spread. Lisa watched the tactical display showing the Eternal Honor's signature flickering and fading. Around it, Kethran escort vessels scrambled to respond, but there was nothing they could do. The flagship was dying. "Katie's team is clear and heading back to the rendezvous point," Ryan reported. Lisa nodded but said nothing. On the display, the Eternal Honor's power core failed completely. The ship went dark, drifting in space like a dying animal. She knew that inside, most of the Kethran military leadership was dead or dying. She had just decapitated their entire command structure. "Record everything," Lisa said to Laura. "I want complete footage of that ship going dark. Broadcast it on all Kethran channels within the hour." Amy stepped closer to Lisa. "Admiral, are you all right?" "No," Lisa said honestly. "But we needed to do this." The footage of the Eternal Honor's destruction spread through the Kethran fleet within hours. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. The ship that represented their military might and honor had been infiltrated and destroyed by an enemy they couldn't even see coming. If humans could reach their command ship, they could reach anywhere. Reports came in from human intelligence officers monitoring Kethran communications. Fleet commanders were panicking. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others argued for withdrawal. Several ships simply stopped responding to any attempts at communication, their crews apparently unwilling to continue fighting. Lisa broadcast a message across all channels, both Kethran and human. She stood in front of the camera, her uniform clean but her face showing the exhaustion of months of constant operations. "To the Kethran Empire," she began, "you came to human territory with demands and challenges. You expected us to fight by your rules, to die with honor while you took our homes. We tried that. It cost us thousands of lives, so we stopped fighting your war and started fighting ours. This is what human warfare looks like. We don't fight for honor or glory. We fight to make sure our people survive, and yours cannot threaten us again. Your flagship is destroyed. Your communication networks are in ruins. Your supply lines are cut. You have lost this war not because we beat you in battle, but because we made the cost of continuing too high. If you want this to end, withdraw from our territory. If you continue, it gets worse." The message ended. Lisa returned to her ready room and sat down heavily. She felt tired in a way that sleep couldn't fix. She had done things in this war that would follow her for the rest of her life, but humanity was still alive and the colonies were safe. Captain Ben Riley led a ground operation to retake one of the colonies the Kethrans had occupied. His team expected heavy resistance. They prepared for a difficult fight against entrenched positions. When they landed, they found the Kethran garrison in chaos. Several Kethran soldiers surrendered immediately, something unthinkable in their culture just months ago. Others had abandoned their posts and fled. The few who tried to fight did so with obvious fear and hesitation. Ben's team secured the colony in less than 6 hours with minimal casualties. When Ben interrogated the Kethran prisoners, they all told similar stories. They spoke of humans as demons who could appear anywhere, who fought without mercy or honor, who couldn't be stopped. Some of the prisoners seemed relieved to be captured, as if imprisonment was better than facing human forces in combat. Ben sent his report to Lisa. "Admiral, the Kethrans here are broken. They're terrified of us. I've never seen anything like it." Lisa read the report and felt a complex mix of emotions. They had accomplished what she set out to do. The Kethran military was psychologically shattered, but the cost of that victory weighed heavily on her conscience. More reports came in from across the conflict zone. Kethran forces were withdrawing from multiple positions without being ordered to do so. Fleet cohesion had collapsed entirely. Several ships had been abandoned by their crews. The once mighty Kethran Empire that had seemed unbeatable 4 months ago was falling apart. Then Earth Command forwarded intelligence that made Lisa call an emergency meeting with her staff. Kethran hardliners, a faction of military leaders who had survived the attack on the Eternal Honor, were pushing for massive retaliation. They wanted to deploy weapons that would devastate human colonies indiscriminately. It was a desperate move, born from humiliation and rage, but it was real. Lisa stood at the head of the conference table, looking at the faces of her officers. They're cornered and desperate. That makes them dangerous. Can we stop them before they launch? Ryan asked. Laura brought up intelligence data. We know where the hardline faction is gathering. They're consolidating what's left of their forces in the Uranus system. If they're going to make a move, it will come from there. We need to hit them first, Katie said. Hard enough that they can't retaliate. Lisa nodded slowly. We also need to give the moderates in their government a way out. If we push too hard, we unite the Kethrans against us. If we don't push hard enough, they try one last desperate attack. What are you thinking? Amy asked. We conduct one more major operation, Lisa said. Something that proves beyond any doubt that continuing this war is suicide. Then we offer terms. Not surrender terms, but a way for both sides to end this, with some dignity intact. After everything we've done, you want to give them dignity? Ryan asked, surprised. I want to give them a reason to stop fighting besides complete destruction, Lisa replied. Desperate enemies do desperate things. I'd rather they choose peace because it's the smart option. Not because we've destroyed them so completely they have no choice. Lisa spent the next day working on a plan. The Kethran hardliners needed to be eliminated as a threat, but in a way that gave the remaining Kethran leadership room to negotiate. She couldn't just destroy more ships. She needed to demonstrate that humanity could reach any target, anywhere, whenever they chose. She called Katie Barnes back to the Valiant. I need you for another mission. This one is going to be harder than the last. Me. Katie sat across from Lisa in the ready room. What's the target? The Kethran hardliners are meeting at a military station in the Uranus system. It's heavily defended, with multiple ships on patrol. We can't destroy it with a direct assault without taking heavy casualties, but we can infiltrate it the same way we did the Eternal Honor. They'll be expecting that now, Katie pointed out. Security will be much tighter, which is why we're not going in during a supply transfer, Lisa said. We're going to create a distraction, a big one. While they're dealing with that, your team goes in, plants evidence of your presence everywhere, and leaves. We don't blow up the station. We prove we could have, but chose not to. Katie frowned. You want to infiltrate a heavily defended station, leave evidence we were there, but not actually destroy it? What's the point? The point is to break their will completely, Lisa explained. If we destroy the station, we create martyrs and make the hardliners heroes. If we prove we could have destroyed it but didn't, we show mercy while demonstrating total superiority. We give the moderate faction ammunition to argue for peace. That's incredibly risky, Katie said. I know. But it might end this war without more deaths on either side. Are you willing to try? Katie was quiet for a long moment, then nodded. Yes, Admiral. We'll do it. The operation began 2 days later. Lisa coordinated a series of attacks across the Uranus system, drawing Kethran attention away from the main military station. Human ships hit patrol routes, destroyed supply depots, and generally created chaos. While Kethran forces scrambled to respond, Katie's team approached the station using stealth technology. They infiltrated through a maintenance airlock during a shift change, using captured codes and uniforms again. But this time, instead of planting explosives, they left markers throughout the station, paint on the walls spelling out messages in Kethran, equipment disabled in ways that made it obvious humans had been there, recordings left in secure areas showing Katie's team moving through corridors unchallenged. The Kethran security forces found the evidence 6 hours after Katie's team had already extracted. The reaction was exactly what Lisa had hoped for. The hardliners gathered at that station, the ones pushing for massive retaliation, realized that humans had been in their base, could have killed them all, but chose not to. The message was clear. Humanity could reach them any time, anywhere, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Lisa broadcast one more message across all channels. This time, she spoke directly to the key ambassador. Vorthok walked through the corridors of the Valiant, with 2 guards flanking him. Lisa had agreed to meet him on neutral ground, but the Kethran diplomat had insisted on coming to the human flagship instead. He wanted to see firsthand the ship that had coordinated so much destruction against his people. Lisa waited for him in the main conference room. Ryan and Amy stood nearby, along with 2 security officers. When Vorthok entered, Lisa gestured to a chair across from her. "Ambassador," she said simply. Vorthok sat down slowly. His ornate diplomatic robes couldn't hide how much the war had aged him. His 4 eyes studied Lisa with an expression that might have been fear or respect, or both. "Admiral Morgan, the Kethran Empire formally requests a ceasefire and wishes to begin negotiations for a permanent peace." "I accept the ceasefire," Lisa replied. "It will take effect immediately. But before we discuss peace terms, I want to understand something. Why did you really come here? You could have sent this message remotely." Vorthok was silent for a moment. "I came because I needed to see you face to face. To understand the person who defeated my people so completely." "I didn't defeat your people," Lisa said. "I broke your military's will to fight." "There's a difference. Is there?" Vorthok asked. "We came to your territory confident in our strength and honor. We believed our way of warfare was superior, civilized, the mark of an advanced species. You showed us how wrong we were." Lisa leaned forward. "Ambassador, let me ask you something. When you first issued your challenge, did you ever actually study human military history?" "We reviewed your recent conflicts," Vorthok said. "We saw that you fought with courage but lacked the discipline and honor codes of truly advanced civilizations." "You saw what you expected to see," Lisa replied. "If you had dug deeper, you would have found thousands of years of warfare where humans fought for survival. Wars where weaker forces defeated stronger ones through tactics your people would call dishonorable. Guerrilla campaigns, asymmetric warfare, psychological operations. We've been doing this since before we had written language." "Why?" Vorthok asked. "Why do humans fight this way?" Lisa stood and walked to the viewport. "Because we never had the luxury of strength. On our world, we competed with each other and with nature itself. We fought in jungles and mountains and deserts, where honor meant nothing and survival meant everything. We learned that the side willing to do whatever it takes usually wins. But you are capable of honor," Vorthok said. "You showed that in the early battles. You followed our codes. We tried your way," Lisa agreed. "We wanted to be good members of the galactic community. We wanted to earn respect through civilized warfare. And it was killing us. So we stopped." Vorthok stood and joined her at the viewport. "What you did to us was cruel. You destroyed our confidence, our sense of identity. Kethran warriors who survived your attacks have been traumatized. Some will never recover." "I know," Lisa said quietly. "And those are things I will have to live with for the rest of my life. But my job was to keep humanity safe, not to make your warriors feel good about losing." "Do you feel any regret?" Vorthok asked. Lisa turned to face him. "I regret every death in this war, on both sides. I regret that we couldn't find a peaceful solution. I regret that I had to break your people psychologically to make them stop fighting. But I don't regret keeping humanity alive. If I had to choose between your warriors' trauma and human colonies being destroyed, I choose humanity every time." Vorthok nodded slowly. "I understand, and I believe the rest of my people will come to understand as well. We underestimated you terribly. You assumed we would always fight by your rules," Lisa said. "That was your mistake. We tried it because Earth Command ordered us to. When those orders changed, we fought the way humans have always fought when desperate." They returned to the conference table, and Lisa pulled up terms she had prepared for the peace settlement. Vorthok studied them carefully. "These are harsh," he said finally. "Withdrawal from all disputed territories. Technology sharing as reparations. Restricted military activity in the border regions. They're fair," Lisa corrected. "You started this war over territory you claimed by ancient right. You lost. Now you give up those claims and help rebuild what was damaged. But I'm not demanding your surrender or occupation. Your empire remains sovereign. Your people keep their dignity." "Why?" Vorthok asked. "You could demand complete surrender. We both know we cannot resist, because I don't want you to become desperate enemies with nothing to lose," Lisa explained. "A humiliated enemy with no hope will fight to the death or try something terrible as a last act of defiance. An enemy who is given terms they can live with will choose peace. I want this to actually end, not just pause until you recover enough to try again." Vorthok studied the terms again. "You are wise, Admiral. More wise than I gave humans credit for." "Very well. I will recommend these terms to what remains of our high command. I believe they will accept. There's one more thing," Lisa said. She pulled up a document. "This is a formal explanation of human military doctrine that I'm sharing with you. It details how and why we fight the way we do. I want you to share it with the Galactic Council and any other species who might consider challenging humanity in the future." Vorthok read through the document. "You want the galaxy to know what you're capable of? I want them to understand that humanity doesn't fight for honor or glory," Lisa said. "We fight to ensure our people survive. That's our doctrine. Leaving no survivors doesn't mean killing everyone. It means leaving no remaining threat. We break the enemy's capacity to continue fighting, their will to fight, and their ability to threaten us again. Then we offer peace. This will change how other species view humanity," Vorthok said. "Good," Lisa replied. "Let them know what happens if they start a war with us." The formal ceasefire went into effect within hours. Kethran forces began withdrawing from human territory the next day. The process took 3 weeks, but it proceeded smoothly. There were no incidents, no last-minute attempts at revenge. The Kethrans just wanted the war to be over. Lisa spent those 3 weeks processing everything that had happened. She met with her officers, reviewed casualty reports, and wrote personal messages to the families of everyone who had died under her command. The numbers were sobering. Humanity had lost thousands of people in the conflict. The Kethrans had lost even more. Amy found her in the observation lounge one evening, staring out at the stars. "Admiral, you've been here for 3 hours." "Just thinking," Lisa said. Amy sat down beside her. "About what?" "About whether there was a better way. If I could have ended this without breaking them so completely." "You did what you had to do," Amy said. "We were losing. People were dying. You changed tactics and saved humanity." "I know," Lisa said. "But that doesn't make it easier to live with." They sat in silence for a while. Finally, Amy spoke again. "Do you think the Kethrans will recover? Will their warrior culture survive what we did to it?" "I don't know," Lisa admitted. "Part of me hopes they don't. Maybe they'll learn to value peace more than honor. Maybe this will change them into something better. Or maybe we just traumatized an entire civilization." Amy said quietly. "Maybe," Lisa agreed. "War does that. It changes everyone it touches." Earth Command called Lisa back home after the peace treaty was signed. She stood on the bridge of the Valiant one last time before departing, looking at the crew that had followed her through months of brutal warfare. They had done what she asked, even when it troubled them. They had fought without honor because she told them to. They deserved better than the war she had led them through. "Thank you," she said simply. "All of you. What we did wasn't pretty or honorable, but it kept humanity alive. That matters." The crew gave her a standing ovation. Lisa felt tears threaten but held them back. She had to stay strong just a little longer. When she arrived on Earth, she was met with a mixture of reactions. Military leadership praised her tactics and results. Politicians debated the ethics of her methods. The general public seemed divided between viewing her as a hero or a war criminal. Lisa avoided most of the attention, focusing instead on the work that still needed to be done. She wrote a comprehensive report on the war, detailing every operation and explaining the strategic thinking behind her decisions. The report was classified, but copies were sent to all major military commands. Other alien civilizations were also given summaries through diplomatic channels. The Galactic Council requested her presence at a hearing. Lisa traveled to the council station and faced representatives from dozens of species. They questioned her about human tactics, about the psychological warfare, about the attack on the Kethran command ship. Lisa answered every question honestly. We fought to survive. The Kethrans were stronger, and following their rules meant we would lose, so we stopped following their rules and fought the way humans fight when desperate. If you find that distasteful, perhaps you should reconsider starting wars with species you don't fully understand. The council was not pleased with her response, but several species quietly approached human diplomats afterward. They wanted to know more about human military capabilities. Some requested non-aggression pacts, others offered trade agreements and technology exchanges. The message was clear. The galaxy now understood that humanity was not to be underestimated. 6 months after the war ended, Lisa received a message from Vorthok. The former ambassador had survived the political turmoil in the Kethran Empire and was now part of their reformed government. His message was brief but meaningful. Admiral Morgan, the Kethran people are changing. Many now question the old ways of honor-bound warfare. Some see it as foolishness that nearly destroyed our empire. Others cling to tradition but admit it failed against humanity. Our military is being rebuilt with new doctrines that acknowledge the reality you showed us. I do not know if this change is good or bad for my people, but I thought you should know that your war did more than defeat us. It changed us. I hope that change leads to something better. Respectfully, Vorthak. Lisa read the message several times. She hoped the Kethrans would find a better path forward. She hoped the trauma of the war would lead to growth rather than bitterness. But she knew that wasn't guaranteed. War changed people and civilizations in unpredictable ways. She wrote one final report for Earth Command, summarizing her thoughts on the conflict and offering recommendations for future policy. The key points were simple. Humanity must never become comfortable with brutal warfare, but must always remain capable of it. The greatest deterrent to war is not strength or honor, but the certainty that fighting humanity will cost more than anyone is willing to pay. We cannot be the species that starts wars for glory or territory, Lisa wrote. But when war is forced upon us, we must fight with every tool and tactic available to ensure our survival. Honor is for peacetime. War is about making sure your people are still alive when it ends. Earth Command accepted her recommendations and began incorporating them into military doctrine. New training programs emphasized adaptability and unconventional tactics alongside traditional combat skills. The goal was to create a military that could fight honorably when possible, but could switch to survival warfare when necessary. Lisa was promoted to Fleet Admiral and offered a position at military command. She accepted, knowing that her experience needed to be passed on to the next generation of officers. She began teaching courses on asymmetric warfare, psychological operations, and strategic thinking. Her students were often uncomfortable with the material, which she saw as a good sign. If this doesn't bother you, you're not paying attention, she told one class. What I did to the Kethrans was necessary, but not pleasant. I broke an entire military's will to fight using tactics that would be considered war crimes by many civilizations. I did it because the alternative was watching humanity be slowly destroyed while fighting honorably. You need to understand both the necessity and the cost of that choice. 2 years after the war, Lisa received another message from the Kethran Empire. They were requesting human military advisors to help reform their forces. The request included a personal note from Vorthok asking if Lisa would be willing to consult on the project. Lisa declined politely. She had done enough damage to the Kethran psyche. They needed to find their own path forward without her involvement, but she recommended several capable officers who understood both conventional and unconventional warfare. If the Kethrans were going to rebuild, they should learn from people who understood the full spectrum of military operations. She stood in her office at Military Command one evening, looking out at the city lights below. Amy Torres, who had also been promoted and now served on her staff, found her there. "Still thinking about the war?" Amy asked. "Always," Lisa admitted. "It's not something you forget. The choices we made, the people who died, the Kethran warriors we traumatized. Do you wish we had done things differently?" Lisa considered the question carefully. "I wish the war hadn't happened at all. I wish the Kethrans had accepted peaceful negotiation instead of demanding combat. But once the war started, I don't think we could have done much differently. Maybe we could have been less brutal in places, but that would have cost more human lives. So you have no regrets?" "I have many regrets," Lisa said. "But I don't regret keeping humanity safe. That was my job. And I did it." Amy nodded. "The galaxy certainly sees us differently now." "Yes," Lisa agreed. "We're no longer the newcomers trying to earn respect through honor. Now we're the species that fights like demons when cornered. I'm not sure that's better, but it's honest. Do you think we'll have to fight like that again?" "I hope not," Lisa said. "But if we do, at least now everyone knows what they're getting into. Maybe that knowledge will prevent wars rather than start them." The Valiant was decommissioned a year later, its role in the war making it a symbol humanity wanted to move past. Lisa attended the ceremony, watching as the ship that had been her home during the conflict was officially retired. Part of her was sad to see it go. Another part was relieved. Perhaps putting the ship to rest would help close that chapter. As the ceremony ended, a young officer approached her. He introduced himself as Lieutenant Kyle Harper, newly assigned to the fleet. He asked if she had any advice for someone just starting their career. Lisa thought for a moment. "Learn everything you can about warfare in all its forms. Understand conventional tactics and unconventional ones. Study history, especially conflicts where weaker forces defeated stronger ones. But most importantly, remember that war is not a game. It's not about honor or glory. It's about survival. If you ever have to command in combat, fight to make sure your people go home. Everything else is secondary." The young officer thanked her and left. Lisa watched him go, hoping he would never have to apply those lessons. But knowing that if he did, humanity would be ready. She returned to her office and pulled up the casualty reports from the Kethran War one more time. Each name represented a person who had died because of decisions she made. That weight would never leave her, but she had given them the best chance to survive that she could. In war, sometimes that was all you could do. Thran leadership. You now understand what you're facing. We can destroy your fleets, infiltrate your bases, and eliminate your commanders whenever we choose. But we don't want to. We want this war to end, not with your total destruction, but with peace. We will withdraw our forces if you withdraw yours. We will negotiate a settlement that allows both our peoples to coexist. But if you continue fighting, we will do whatever is necessary to ensure humanity survives. The choice is yours." Ambassador Vorthok sent a response within 12 hours. His face appeared on screen, and Lisa could see how much he had changed since their first meeting. The proud, confident alien was gone. In his place was someone who looked tired and defeated. "Admiral Morgan, the Kethran Empire requests an immediate ceasefire. We wish to negotiate terms for ending this conflict." Katie met her eyes. "Admiral, are you sure about this? Killing their leadership while they're on their flagship? That's not warfare. That's assassination." "I know what it is," Lisa said, "and I know what it will do to them. Sometimes the fastest way to end a war is to make the enemy afraid to continue fighting. This does that." The mission launched 3 days later. Katie's team approached the Eternal Honor during a scheduled supply transfer. Using forged codes and captured uniforms, they boarded the massive ship along with dozens of Kethran workers and supplies. Once inside, they split up and moved through the vessel's corridors, planting explosives at strategic points. Lisa monitored the operation from the Valiant's bridge, listening to Katie's team report their progress. Everything went smoothly for the first 4 hours. Then alarms started going off. "With follow them." "That was your mistake. There must be dignity in combat," Vorthak said. "Without honor, We are no better than animals. Honor is something you can afford when you're winning, Lisa replied. We couldn't afford it, so we stopped trying. If you want this to end, withdraw from our territory. Otherwise, it keeps getting worse. The transmission ended. Lisa stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. Amy joined her after a moment. Do you think they'll withdraw? Amy asked. Not yet, Lisa said. They're too proud. But they're starting to understand what they're up against. Humans have always fought when their backs are against the wall. Some of you won't like it. Some of you will think it's wrong. But it will keep us alive. Amy shifted uncomfortably. Admiral, what exactly are you proposing? Lisa pulled up a tactical map showing Kethrin's supply routes through the asteroid belt. We stop announcing our presence. We stop fighting in open space where they can use their superior numbers. We hit them where they're weak, when they're not expecting it, and we disappear before they can respond. That violates their honor code, Amy said. I never agreed to their honor code, Lisa replied. And I'm done watching our people die for someone else's idea of civilized warfare. Lisa, 1, 1, 1, 1.